Scum one, scum all, and scum as you are. I'm Vulture Culture, and this is the Ensoniq SQ-80 from 1987. But what we're listening to is actually an ESQ1 patch. So the Synth Square STC 512 memory card, which is amazing because it gives you 4 layers of 16 banks of patch presets you can use to make your own sounds. Well, actually the last bank I discovered this past week has a bunch of Ensoniq ESQ1 sounds, which I'm a huge fan of that synthesizer as well. That came out the year before the SQ-80 and is basically the same architecture. Curtis chips in analog filters, but with digital wavetables, which is one of my favorite setups. And really the biggest difference I would say is you've got more waveforms. I think you had something in the 30s in the Ensoniq ESQ1. You've got 75 here. But the other big thing is that you have aftertouch. So if I just show you real quick. So without a doubt, the Ensoniq SQ-80 is the cheapest or most affordable. There's nothing cheap about this synthesizer. It's an incredibly, I love this instrument so much. But you can get polyphonic aftertouch for less than $1,000, which is pretty insane to think about getting that in a synthesizer from 1987. I saw that price today on Reverb. It was less than $1,000. Of course, if you're watching this in the future, prices could be higher or lower. You never know. But what's really sick is if anybody wants to get an ESQ1, I saw on Reverb today an ESQ1 for $425, which is a absolute bargain steal. And so if you like some of these sounds, we're listening to ESQ1 sounds because the internals are very similar. Filters are slightly different, but basically, in theory, it sounds about the same on an ESQ1 as it does on an SQ-80. So if that's something you're interested in, worth checking out. So anyways, let's check out real quick just these first few patches, and then we can talk about how we can add polyphonic aftertouch to an ESQ1 patch. This one's called T-Piano. Hopefully you guys can see this. Almost honky-tonky. One thing to know about this that I'm hearing immediately is that unlike on almost any other vintage synthesizer that I'm aware of, including hybrid synthesizers, you can actually sync the oscillators. So I'm not talking about hard sync in the typical sense, but where the phase of each oscillator is phase locked, and it gives you a very different sound than sort of traditional analog synthesis where the waveforms are always kind of clashing with each other. It's a cool sound, but the SQ-80 can do that sound as well, but it's a cool feature that a lot of people don't talk about with this synthesizer. 40 Thieves, welcome to the stream. 40 says, I hope you can access the hidden waves on the SQ-80 with the SQ-80L plugin. So I'm not the master of the hidden waves. We were talking about it before you got here. Oh, everybody knows I love a good organ sound. Let's try HRN horn section, maybe. Pretty good. String bass, maybe? Oh, this one's very nice. Johnny says, it looks new. Yes, well, I try to take very good care of my synthesizers, so, I appreciate that. It is recently serviced. Dubstation Zero says, I highly recommend the ESQ1 as a gateway drug to vintage. Incredible value for under $500. I couldn't agree more. Just an incredible synthesizer. I've got a video coming up this Sunday, actually, talking about what I think are the 5 best value vintage synthesizers. So if you're checking this video out, go ahead and look for that too. It'll be in the description. There's a link to what it says Synth playlist, which has all of my synthesizer videos. So you'll be able to find it there when it comes out. We have a kick drum. not really what this synthesizer is best at. This one, piano strings. Ooh, this is very nice. Try down here. Really beautiful. That's the thing about the SQ-80 and the ESQ-1 is just the sound is incredibly authentically 80s, but it can really do everything from cold digital wavetable-y stuff, which I think is what people expect this synthesizer to sound like, all the way into the warm Juno analog sounding things. Yes, Jim, that was definitely like a bar piano honky-tonk type sound they were able to do. Are you going to love or hate organs this week? So far it's hate, but I think in the future it might be love. I don't know, man. I don't know what it is about organs. Sometimes like you get a patch and it's wonderful. Yes. Has a phase sound. So one thing is, yeah, sounds super good. One thing I should mention is that the SQ-80 and the ESQ-1 do not come with any sort of onboard chorus or reverb. So what we're listening to is actually my plugin, Inktomi, which isn't released yet, but will be soon. It will be free to members of this channel. So if you want to become a member of the channel, and so when it comes out, you have access to it, that would be super cool. I would appreciate that. $5 a month. But and you also get Diodes and Rust, which is my vintage industrial drum sample library, so enough shilling out. Anyways, so we're listening to Inktomi now. So we will get a little bit of a little chorus in there just to help widen the sound, make it a little bit more beautiful. And I know some people like hearing synths like super dry. They get pissed off if anybody, puts a single effect on a synthesizer. But for me, I actually think when it comes to vintage synths, it helps to have a little bit of effects on it, because otherwise they can sound so dry, so barren, so much like my ex-girlfriend, that it just doesn't have any sort of love to it, Wow. Oh, this one's called Sing. Really cool patch. Really great. Let's go back to these strings that we had earlier. Oh, wait. What was the strings here? I still haven't figured out how to do it yet, Max says, but I'd love to get these waveforms onto an NTS-1. That'd be super cool. Death by Media, welcome to the stream. Death says that the ESQ-1 and SQ-80 are great and very versatile. Yes, and so we're listening to these ESQ-1 waveforms tonight. Let's see. What else do we have here? This was the sound from the beginning, Kiev, which I've modified so that we can have that polyphonic aftertouch there. Oh, cool, Max. Apparently there's a online form of these wavetables. Jamie, welcome. How's it going? Cheers. Yes, effects used in moderation. So anyways, let's go back to this string sound. And it's great, but wouldn't it be interesting if we could play some polyphonic aftertouch type stuff passages? Because right now, there's no aftertouch going. So all we have to do, sorry, I should go back to the cart. So I've selected the preset. Hopefully you guys can see that on stream. I'm just going to hit the filter button here. And we have two modulators on this synth. What's so great about this synth is you do not need a programmer for it. It's much easier to program than any of these other non-one knob per function synths. Like, I actually bought a SynthArc programmer. You guys might remember it from back in the days. $500+ piece of gear just to program it, and I never used it because the programming on the SQ-80 is so good. Same interface as the ESQ-1 too, by the way. So all you have to do is, we've got envelope 3 affecting the filter. So I don't want to mess with that because that's what's going on, giving it a little bit of filter shape. But all I have to do is select pressure right here. So it's just one of the modulators you can select. I think there's like 18 different possible modulators. So in this way, this synthesizer almost behaves a little bit more like a modular synth compared to most vintage synths, and the fact that you can kind of modulate anything with anything. But anyways, all we have to do is just add some value to that, and now we have aftertouch. So we have that. That's cool. I think it would be cooler if we had some resonance though, right? And now let's bring the filter frequency down a bit so that we have... I like getting those like low mid sing-song harmonics. Yeah, somewhere in there. We can add a little bit of envelope to this too now. I mean, come on, right? Immediately. That filter is, I've said it before, it's my favorite filter of any vintage analog synth I've ever played. It is just incredible. I don't know what it is. Sometimes Curtis filters can sound really cold. This one just sounds great. And the fact that you have polyphonic aftertouch is just, you know, a 10 out of 10. The way they constructed these key beds too, by the way, is different than most key beds, so they don't have as many issues as almost every other vintage synthesizer, and that's a beautiful thing. Unfortunately, the keys are a little clacky. I don't know why I'm hitting the keys. You can't hear how they sound. If I turn the volume off and I move my... You can hear... Well, that was mostly my rings. I don't know if you guys can hear. I don't know what I'm doing right now. But, you know, aside from that, as far as the key bed goes, it's just incredible. And if you haven't ever played a synth with polyphonic aftertouch, you are missing out. It's a lot of fun. So let's see. Let me catch up with the chat real quick here while I play some chords. Play down here. Let's see. Vincent says, this string patch uses the piano waveform, which is why it's called piano string. That's awesome. I would have never have guessed that. Panda, welcome to the stream. How's it going? Death by Media says, yeah, mod LFOs with LFOs to multiply speed was the cool trick they did. Yeah, it's so great. Yes, so 40 Thieves points out something important, which is, and actually this is true even if you're not using a programmer, if I wanted to do a filter sweep on this synth, I can't do it. So if I want to move the filter frequency, as I move this knob here, we're not getting anything. Whereas, so it's only, it updates in real time, like the Roland D50. Yeah, so it's that's a thing to be aware of. That's just part of how the synth is. You can't have it all, I suppose. Yes, and so yeah, it's just super cool. And by the way, I mean, it was very easy to edit that patch. My point was to, you know, we actually spent a while hanging out here, messing a lot of the parameters up. But you can make this happen very quickly. So if we want to save this, I just hit right and then hold down Cart A. It's a little counterintuitive, and then hit piano string and it will write the program. So now we don't have the, it was a good patch before, but now it's a great patch, you know, this just... Yeah, just really beautiful sounding, and yeah. I don't know, man. The SQ-80 is overpowered. It's basically everything you could love from the Roland D50, but better in a lot of senses. I still love the way the D50 sounds, don't get me wrong, but this really, it's just the inclusion of that analog oscillator especially is just incredible. Just such a great thing. Vincent says, you can always map anything to the mod wheel for real-time control. Thank you for saying that. I meant to say that, and then I got off track because of the absinthe, perhaps. But what we could do also is, instead of pressure here, we could go and find the mod wheel, the wheel here, and we could do the same thing. So now we can use the mod wheel to do real-time filter sweep. So I'm actually going to turn the envelope all the way off. You can actually go negative on the envelopes, but that hurts my brain, so. So that's how you can do real-time filter sweeps. So I neglected to mention that, which I apologize to everybody for. Yeah, super useful, and yeah, if you want to do some, like, here, let's hear how crazy this filter can get, actually, while we're here. That's not going all the way down. I guess I would have to bring that all the way down. But, man, is that not kind of, is that not crazy? Yeah, just, there's something so throaty and vocally about the filter on this synthesizer that I've always been fascinated with. It's sort of, you know, people get mad at me when I say it sounds like an Oberheim. They're like, no, it's not the same filter. It's like, it's almost the same filter as the Matrix 12, which is a synthesizer that goes for $25,000 fucking dollars, right? So, you know, would I like to try a Matrix 12? Of course. And of course that synth has multi-mode, so it uses that one analog filter but is able to create high pass, band pass, and notch out of it, which is like the famous Oberheim thing. So I'm not trying to say that, but I'm just saying the inherent character of the resonance is the same, if not maybe just slightly different. But when you consider the price difference and the fact that this has polyphonic aftertouch and much more flexible oscillators, yada, 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 there's something to be said for this being just overpowered. Anyways, we've spent a lot of time just on these first few sounds. So this one's called Ice Pop. Interesting. It's like so velocity sensitive that you almost don't get the notes unless you hit them pretty hard. Also uses that incredible resonance. I mean, it just sounds gorgeous, especially with Inktomi's reverb. Super gorgeous. Here's one called Seagulls. I love this patch so much. Dubstation 0 says the old Ensoniq use a send return 10-volt CV pedal, which is 2 to 3 times the max voltage for most synths, making it one of the few that's compatible with Eurorack LFOs and modulators. Yes, we were talking about this the other day, Dub, that one really great thing about this is the expression pedal is compatible with modern Eurorack. So if you're a modular, you know, homie, then consider messing around with this. So we've got to each bank, we have 2 sets of 10 patches on cart A and cart B. So we got plenty to get through tonight. This is called Harpsichord 3, I think. Yeah, I mean, that's a harpsichord. Kind of how I feel about organs and harpsichords. I feel the same way. This one's called pipe organ, so congratulations, guys. Yeah, so that exists. We're going to move right the fuck on from that. Jim says, it sounds like a patch Gary Wright used back in the 70s. Very delayed. Ooh, this is a very nice resonanced brass sound. I mean, are you kidding me? Yeah, just gorgeous. That one's really great. And it's called Swallow Brass or something like that. Super cool. Max Madsen says, this reminds me of my first synthesizer, Casio CZ-3000. Awesome synth. I'd love to get my hands on a CZ one day. Call it blank, not seagulls, lol. The Addams Family, yes, for sure, 40 Thieves. Mind Idiot says it's dreamy. I couldn't agree more. Yeah, that brass is where it's at. I mean, the analog oscillators on this guy, you know. And again, we can make this polyphonic aftertouch really quick. Hit the filter button. We've got 2 envelopes affecting this, 3 and 4, but 4 is only adding plus 0.4. Hopefully you guys can see that on stream. So I'm just going to pick a different thing, which can be the pedal, it can be pressure, it can be over MIDI control. And we'll use pressure. I love adding aftertouch to any, like, just, when I press aftertouch, I want that filter to move. This thing just won't stay out of my way today. So. So just like that, we've modified this patch and made it polyphonically aftertouch-ing. So Vulture Mom says, please explain to us synth simpletons, hardly including anyone in this chat except for me, how Inktomi is applying reverb. Okay, so Inktomi is an effects plugin that I made, and it's based off of the effects section of one of my favorite vintage synthesizers. And what it lets you do is add chorus or phaser or ensemble modulation to any source. It doesn't even have to be a synthesizer, it could be drums or vocals, but I made it, specifically it is a very vintage sounding, analog sounding chorus for vintage synths, because a lot of vintage synths, the SQ-80 included, are very dry. They don't have effects built in. Nowadays, we take effects being built into synthesizers for granted. But back in the day, you had to have not just a really great synth, but also a really great rack of gear, because synthesizers don't exactly sound right without especially chorus and either some delay or reverb or something to make it whatever. Bass lines and leads you can get away with sometimes without any effects, but for pads and cinematic stuff, which is kind of what I like, you need that. So Inktomi is in its alpha stage. It hasn't been released yet. But what's really cool about it is it's got chorus, phaser, ensemble, and reverb. It's very simple. It's got exactly 4 knobs because I wanted to make it super easy so that it's not super intimidating. I love the Valhalla plugins. I use them all the time, but they're intimidating. There's a lot of knobs and stuff. I just wanted it to have a really great chorus, phaser, ensemble, reverb. That's it. And there's a lot going on under the hood with Inktomi when it comes out, because everything has an element of analog randomness to it. So if you pay attention to the way that or I might not be able to hear it on this sound, but there's a lot going on. It's deeper than your just typical chorus plugin. So that's all I'll say about that for right now. So moving on to bass. And this is kind of revealing the digital side. This would be a sound that I would turn the reverb off for, but we're sort of getting into that territory where it's, you know, almost getting into that Yamaha DX7 type of sound. Not sounding analog at all, very digital, but still warm. Very cool. Panda says, even if jazz organ isn't your thing, who could ever deny that awesome tool, that creepy, depressing organ as a mood setting tool? Yeah, no, I agree. You know, my friend Miss FD uses organs in her music all the time, and it always sounds great because it does give it that gothic sort of character. Unfortunately, anytime I go to use it, I just can't take it seriously. Like, I don't know. Johnny says it covers strings, pads, and brass really well. I agree. Kind of like the high-end Eventide Lexicon rack stuff. Well, thank you very much. Hans Volt, welcome to the stream. What's up? You can never have enough effects. I agree. Max asks if I ever used the Boss SE70. No, I have not. I would love to. Moving on to the next patch, we've got this toy piano. Love one of these guys. Down here, we're getting into that Casio 8-bit sort of territory. So when you're up in the higher octaves, that attack sample is very, it sounds great. Really wonderful. But even down here, we're starting to hear it, and the Roland D50 and most synthesizers from this era have this problem, which is that attack sample is getting stretched when every octave you go down below its intended octave, it's now twice as long. So you lose the transient-like nature of the sample, and you end up with something that's kind of flubby. So down here, you can hear it almost sounds like it has a delay or something smearing it. But otherwise, that's a really wonderful sound. This one's called AU Harp. Very velocity sensitive, but in a good way. Yeah, I can play very like quiet. Or I could play with some aggression. And again, we're getting into that DX7 sort of digital bright thing. Something like that. Yes, I love that sort of retro digital sound that you get from the Casios and even things like the SQ-80 and the D50. We got a nice flute. I'm fascinated. There's like some release noise in there. I don't know if you guys can pick that up. I'm not insulting anybody's ears. I'm sure you guys can hear better than I can. I'm talking more about YouTube compression. Very beautiful. Wow, just sounds really great with that reverb too. So real quick, I'm just curious for my own knowledge because I've always struggled with synthesizing flutes that sound that way. So I just want to see what oscillators they're using. They're using a sine wave for oscillator 1, the voice wave for oscillator 2, and another sine wave for oscillator 3. And we can check real quick and see what the levels are all about the same for those, just to know for my own knowledge that some sine waves and using the voice waveform in this. We got 75 different waveforms in the synthesizer. By the way, guys, I've already done a video explaining some sound design on the Ensoniq SQ-80, so definitely go check that out. You can find it on this channel somewhere in the synth playlist. Worthwhile if you want to hear some more basic stuff about how to actually make your own sounds with the SQ-80. I show how to do it live. It's a really cool synth, super easy to program, but that's not the scope of this video. So maybe watch this video, and then after this video, go check out the other stream I did on this. This one's called Alloy. Oh, nice digital sounding. It's like one little piece of the wave station is what that reminds me of. This one's called AM call. This is like an AM call, like when your fucking shitty ex-boyfriend calls you at 4:30 a.m. What are you doing? Oh, wow. Wow, that's a really cool patch. Really neat. Shane, welcome to the stream. How's it going? 1 a.m. Atlantic. I might have screwed that up, Shane, for sure. He used to have Jim says he used to have a Yamaha DX11. Sold it, wish you hadn't. Yeah, no, I can understand that. There's always time to get another vintage synth, Jim. This one's called F111. Everybody loves a good, noisy, windy patch, right? You had to have that one. Okay, so to move on to the next bank of patches, all we have to do is move this knob once, and then when I hit A, we've got a whole new bank of patches. So this one's called Piano 3. Has some more of that honky-tonk piano that we heard before. DG slap, I'm assuming this will be sort of your DX7 type slap bass sound. Not really a DX7 slap bass sound, kind of something else unique. Again, probably would want to check it out without reverb, but that's one nice thing about leaving the effects consistent the whole time is you guys get to hear all these sound. Yeah, the SQ-80 is insane. It's definitely one of the most underrated vintage synths of all time. I mean, you can't buy... I mean, I guess a Hydra Synth Explorer isn't 1,000, right? Not quite. Can someone check that for me, what a Hydra Synth Explorer goes for? But the fact that you can actually have a polyphonic synth... I'm sorry, polyphonic aftertouch synth for less than $1,000, and it's vintage, right? Let's just forget about vintage for a second. Just any synthesizer. Right, for less than 1,000, that's polyphonic aftertouch. I mean, come on. Another brass patch. Don't love it as much. We got another bass patch. I wouldn't say... Again, maybe not as realistic as most other synths from the 80s sounded, but still actually very cool, almost in like a techno sort of way. So if I don't like organs and harpsichords, I love vibraphone synth patches. Oh, it's so good. And again, I wanted to check these oscillators. We've got the first oscillator is Synth 1, which is an additive-based synthesizer wave. Then we got a sine wave, and we got another sine wave. So, very cool. if you want to audition to the different waves, by the way, oh, interesting. Synthwave 1, the level is off, so we're not hearing that. We're really just hearing the sine waves. So we could turn those off. Oh, maybe there's something affecting this. Oh, I see. It's envelope 1 is creating the little tine attack. So it's almost like how you would make a DX7 style electric piano sound. Very beautiful. This was called Full Strings. So let's see. Once again, it's just like delivers. That's the thing about this synthesizer. We're not even listening to SQ-80 patches. We're listening to ESQ1 patches. Again, there's an ESQ1 on Reverb right now for $425. It needs to have the battery replaced. Not a big deal if you know a synth tech. I wouldn't recommend it if you don't know, if you're not handy, like Dubstation Zero could handle it. I don't want to mess with it. I had the battery replaced in this guy. Didn't cost all that much. Maybe factor in another $100. So you pay $525 for an incredible synthesizer that can do all of these sounds. I mean, that's pretty great. I don't know. You can't really beat that. So, yes. Jamie says, Panda and I have an ESQ1 and a VFX SD. To me, this sounds really similar to the ESQ1. What is the difference other than patch memory? Great question, Jamie. So we are listening to ESQ1 patches. So if you want these, go look up the VPS Factory patches, and you should be able to load them. You can find them on the internet probably. Or you can get one of these guys, which is a Synth Square STC 512, I believe is the model number, but it's basically just they're about $100. I have the link in the description of this video. It should be towards the top of the link spamming that I do. And it has all of these patches, and it's compatible with ESQ1 because they are ESQ1 patches. So what are the differences between the ESQ1 and the SQ-80? This came out the year after the ESQ1 and added an additional 44 or so waveforms, bringing the total waveform count up to 75. And I think some of these waveforms are the synthesizers build as a crosswave synthesizer. So every version of the synths they came out with, they changed the marketing name up with. So your VFX, I believe, is a transwave synthesizer. So supporting trans rights early. Love that from Ensoniq. But really the difference is that the SQ1 just has wavetables. So the same types of wavetables you might find in other synthesizers like the DW8000 or Kawai K3, where it's just a single cycle of a waveform that you're using as an oscillator. Introduced in the SQ-80 were very short samples like you would find in the Roland D50 that weren't that expensive because the samples were so short, remembering that RAM was super expensive in the 80s, so they didn't have a lot of room to work with, but allowed you to do certain things like adding a attack sample to a synth sound that increased the realism quite a bit, like the D50. Then by the time we got to the VFX, the trans waves, if I'm recalling correctly, are the first generation of Ensoniq synthesizer that has a wave table that functions more like a wavetable nowadays in Serum, or to use the vintage lingo, like in a PPG wave, where you have a position on that wavetable, and as you move a modulator, whether it's an LFO, an envelope, the mod wheel, or a slider, whatever it may be, it changes the timbre of that wavetable. Whereas in the ESQ1 and SQ-80, all the wavetables or samples are static. You can't morph them or anything like you could in a Hydra Synth Explorer, Novation Summit, PPG Wave, Serum. Massive X, all of that stuff, Omnisphere, yada, yada, yada. The biggest differences between the SQ-80 and the SQ-1, aside from just how many waves it has, is this was the first synthesizer that had polyphonic aftertouch from Ensoniq anyways. And that was carried over into the VFX. So your VFX will have polyphonic aftertouch, but what your VFX does not have is an analog filter. So you've got a filter in there, but it is a digital filter and it is non-resonant. Whereas with this, we've got a fully resonant analog filter that sounds really great. I don't mind digital filters. Some of my favorite synths have digital filters, but for what it's worth, there is something very beautiful about analog filters. I believe it's our friend Dubstation Zero, we were talking about this, where it's like, I don't care what the oscillators are, as long as you've got an analog filter somewhere in the chain, the signal flow, you get that sound. So when you compare the three synths, SQ-80 is probably the most expensive of the three, then the VFX, then the ESQ-1. You get the analog filters in the ESQ and the SQ-80, but you get more complex wavetable options in the SQ-80 and VFX. So there's not really a right or a wrong, and you have the polyphonic aftertouch in the SQ-80 and the VFX. So there's not a right or a wrong. I think the reason the SQ-80 is the most expensive of the Ensoniq synthesizers in general is just that it's the most advanced of the synths that has an analog filter that Ensoniq put out. But they're all great choices. I would recommend all of them, and especially if you guys who don't have one yet, I would recommend grabbing one. So yeah, very, very cool. Aquatic Borealis, welcome to the stream. How's it going? This one's called Vox Res. It's been too long since I played a sound. Oh, it's gorgeous. Love a good bad note. I was starting to get in the vibe. This is a gorgeous patch. I love this one. Very cool. Aquatic Borealis says, missed the first hour. What do you think about Moog being sold? I did address that earlier on. So I would say that, okay, here's how I said it. I said that although I don't often recommend modern Moog products because of just the high premium they put on their products, I love the idea of an employee sold or owned company. I guess it was employee sold too. Maybe not. Maybe someone in charge sold it. Employee owned, profit sharing company. I wish all companies worked that way. And I hope for a version of the future where we see more of that. I believe that that's like the true spirit of like the American dream, right? Love that. Dubstation mentioned that they got a lot of credit for that, but then there was a lot of employees going on strike because being employee owned meant that they could pay the employees bad wages. I haven't looked that up, but I trust Dubstation most of the time. He knows a lot more about the stuff than I do. So I don't really know what my opinion is on it. Is it likely that Moog will continue to put out synths of the same quality? Maybe, maybe not. I think Sequential has survived with Focusrite taking them over and putting out synths of good quality. I don't know InMusic that well. Is it likely that there's going to be... It's probably likely that the quality will go down a bit, but you might be able to get synthesizers that don't cost $10,000 fucking dollars for a Moog 1, right? So to me, that's probably a good thing. If the version of Moog Music is the most benevolent one, which is the one where it is like a really great company for the employees, then I'm a little sad. If it was never really that company, and I don't know, I'm ignorant to this, I don't really know the answer. If it was never that company and it's just sold, it's just kind of more business at work. So what do you guys think? Do you guys have an opinion on this while I'm playing patches? I'd love to actually know what everybody thinks. Wow, that's a beautiful... beautiful bell patch. All right, so I need to catch up with the chat here. Jamie says, is it okay of me to officially name June Transwave Synthesis Month? I absolutely think it is. Johnny says, yes, a 626 with a CZ. Dad thought I was magic. Dubstation says, the Fizmo and the TS1012 have a wave sequencing where you can take wavetables and combine them together. Yeah, I really hope one day to get an Ensoniq TS10. That's sort of my like dream digital, all digital Ensoniq. A very cool synth. This one might be flange guitar. Oh, wow. Johnny expects the older Moogs to jump in price again. Wouldn't be surprised. Vulture Mom points out that her nephew was snorkeling yesterday and spied an octopus. Vox Continental, yeah, Johnny, that's absolutely. Maybe they'll rev up to fight Behringer. That would be interesting for sure. Pro One gonna be spendy. The 6, yeah, it's absolutely go. Brian, welcome to the stream. Hopefully Moog will not go the way of Gibson. I don't think that'll happen at this point. Velocity is intense. A little too much for my take. This one's called Shot. That's a thing. Velocity keyboard. Oh, interesting sort of sound. Oh, wow, this is interesting. It's changing the... This is something I've only noticed on the Oberheim Matrix 6. So, if I play quietly, it's routing velocity to attack. So if I play quietly, you have a lot of attack. And if I play hard, you hear the pluck of that key. You can hear that it's actually like really pulling it back, which is fascinating. It sounds really cool. Fascinating sound. It's interesting, you get these little pops in there that are something. Yes, so Dubstation says the latest in music flagships are the MPCs, which the last 3 releases have been heavily criticized for incomplete firmware. Kai Force is well riddled with problems. Oh, I didn't know they were the MPC people. So see, that's why it was good that I didn't do a video. I would have fucked it up for sure. Ed, welcome to the stream. Yeah, my YouTube has been full of MPCs, yeah. That's an interesting company to take them over. This one's called Bell Organ, so here we go. I don't hate it. Yo, Douglas Edge with the $10 tip. Thank you very much. I could see you didn't leave a comment. That's awesome of you. Thank you so much, Douglas. I appreciate it, and I appreciate all the members of this channel. Yeah, I mean, it's an organ, but I kind of like that it's got the bell in there, because at least it's not just an organ, you know? So you've... Definitely something. Yo, Ed, what's up? Is Emu still around? That's a great question. I don't think so. I was looking into this for some copyright stuff I was fascinated by, understanding the state of what's up with Emu, which acquired Ensoniq too, by the way. I don't think so. I don't think they are, but don't quote me on that. Just like I don't know anything about Moog, I don't really know anything about anything. Blip brass. Whoa.
That is one seriously perverted bitch.
Didn't Creative Labs buy them and fold them? That sounds right. I believe so. I was looking up some stuff about it. Creative Labs, which owned Emu at the time, bought Ensoniq and then merged the two. But I don't know exactly what the state of, like if anybody still owns the name or something, for instance. Oh, this is a bass patch. Tack bass. Pretty cool. This one's called ST Drum 2. Maybe not drum. Steel drum. It's a steel drum patch. There we go. Only took a couple of seconds. Very beautiful. Substring. Interesting thing that you can hear there when I hit the string, or hit the key hard. Almost like okay, so quiet, hard. I didn't hear it that time. Hard. There's like a little plectrum hit, like a little in there. Can you guys hear that? Let me know if you can hear that or if I'm just losing my fucking mind. Jim Abbey says, out of all your synths, what would be your favorite? Open the can of worms. Let's check out the saxophone sound first. I like how the designer here used some sort of like maybe LFO on the attack. Interesting. Favorite synthesizer. So one way I could define favorite synthesizer would be the synthesizer I go to the most when I want to get something done quick. Another way I could define favorite synthesizer is the synthesizer I'm least likely to sell. The one I go to the most recently, if I'm being honest, is the Fermanta Polyvox, which I think you can see on camera right over here. I've been using it a lot, especially when I was doing the loops for the diodes and Rust. And just like, that synth is crazy. Dubstation and I were talking about mono synths and how we're both fans of polyphonic synths. But I think that the Fermanta Polyvox is definitely the exception to the rule as far as I'm concerned. That synth is something special. You can get them for about $1,200 right now on Reverb, which makes them one of the more affordable one knob per function analog synths, vintage analog synths you can get. It's just really special. It's just like, I always try to like, I like talking about features as opposed to sound, but that one just sounds great. And it's like every time I go to it, mine has a MIDI modification to it so that you can run MIDI in. That makes a big difference with it too for doing like sequence bassline stuff. I don't know if I would have fallen in love with it if I didn't have that modification, you know. It's hard to know that sort of thing. It just sounds awesome, you know. And sometimes that will, most of the time with the synths, I think they all sound great. So then it does come down to the features, but with that one, it kind of comes down to the sound. And the fact that it's all one knob per function is great too, but it just always sounds good. I do still kind of think the Korg Poly 6 is my, that's usually the answer I give when someone asks me that question. And the reason is just because it's the furthest thing from a VST. So this one's cool. It's like a bowed bell sound. You can hear some inharmonic, whether it's intermodular distortion or aliasing. Really cool. This one's called Squeak. Very cool. Yeah, very neat. So yeah, hopefully I answered that question, Jim. Brian says, I had an EMU 0404 PCR card long ago. Did the job well. I don't even know that existed. So what is that, Brian? Yes, so I actually have a quiz question coming up on the channel. So I mentioned this before the stream got going. Yo, Anonymous with the $6.66 donation. There's a comment here, so I'm just going to walk over here. It's from Jamie and Pan. It says, I love all this coverage of these amazing synthesizers. Great work, Alex. Let's dive a little deeper into the Moog source soon. I would love to do that, so maybe we will soon. It's a really cool synth. I think I've done a video on it already, but definitely if whatever you guys want me to cover on this channel, I would love to do so. So thank you very much for your donation. I appreciate it, you guys. So yeah, Brian, let me know. I don't even know what that is. Very cool. This one's called Shimmer. Wow, that's something special, isn't it? Whoa, I didn't hold down the keys long enough. It's got like some sort of polyphonic aftertouch, or just been saying that so much. Polyphonic portamento.
That is one seriously perverted bitch.
Yeah, just what an incredible patch, you know? It seems like if I don't hit the, it's amazing how it's using an LFO to control the depth of those LFOs, but it also seems to be velocity sensitive. Maybe not. It's just that there's a LFO controlling the depth of that. So these synthesizers have 3 LFOs per voice and 4 envelopes per voice. So just think about that for a second, you know, like how much deeper of a synthesizer this is than basically every other you know, vintage synthesizer from this era. What can be done with 3 oscillators, 4 amplifiers, a incredible voltage controlled filter, 3 LFOs, 4 envelopes, splits, layers, all sorts of stuff like that. So just, you know, again, craziness. So we'll just move over to the next level here and keep moving on. This one's called Phantasm. Oh, I remember this one. When I was figuring this out, I came across the sound. Doesn't that remind you of something? Does that give you any sort of like... Is there a synthesizer that we've featured on this channel a bit that reminds you of? It's gorgeous. It's great value Fantasia. Like, it's Wish Fantasia. It's actually very deep, like Fantasia. They did a very good job copying it. They did a better job than I did at copying soundtrack. Yes, Vincent called it. Definitely right on there. Jim says, mine is the Korg Minilog XD and my M1. Yeah, I mean, that would cover basically all your bases, right? The M1 definitely was like the omnisphere of the 80s, and then the Minilog XD is like everything you could want from a modern hybrid analog synth, where you've got that digital oscillator that's super flexible, and then you've got that great completely analog VCO sections. It's still probably my number one recommendation, with the Mini Freak maybe competing with it nowadays. Let's see. Aquatic Borealis asks, do you ever use MPE, which is MIDI polyphonic expression? Been wondering about that. I don't. I need to, but because I'm sort of stuck in vintage synth land, I don't really have a lot of reason to get into it, because, you know, a lot of these synths don't respond to MIDI even that well, especially not polyphonic. Now, outside of that, if I was more interested, if I was just like a modern synth tuber, like I was just doing the modern stuff, I almost guarantee you that's where I would be, in that space of the synth world, where I'd be checking out what's possible. I do have a Neova Ring, which I did a video on, if you look that up, which to me was very similar, at least in principle, of like what you're trying to accomplish with MPE. So what's also really cool about that, I should try it sometime on one of these vintage synth streams, but you could run that in to the MIDI of this synth and add vibrato by moving your hands to left and right, which is super cool. So that's a thing that exists, and unfortunately that company went out of business. Basically COVID crushed them. But to me, that kind of would be like, get me 80% of the way to MPE, and then from there it just gets like, it's a wild west, and it would be super cool to get into that. But unfortunately, because I live in the vintage synthesizer land, I'm just kind of, it's not for me, you know, just because of the nature of what I do. Devastation says, I see Vulture is a fantastic fan. I prefer the Jaspers. Just ordered my second. Any opinions either way in the chat? Yeah, I'd be interested to know what you guys think. Amayak Uramen, welcome. Yes, it's the Roland D50. Good, well called. There's a very nice, like, sort of almost water temple from the Ocarina of Time sort of sound to fluttering to that sound that's a little different. This is called Ben-Hur. Wow, they got really creative with the sound design on this one. Some interesting, what's the word I'm looking for? Interesting things going on with that one. I think it's called Chmerkel. This is definitely like a kitchen sink. We've got that sort of Vox Continental layered with like a Korg DS8 bell sound. This was called Strat F. Kind of a decent Stratocaster sound. I don't know. Go check out this wind brass sound. Whoa, baby. Yes, sir. That's where it's at right there. That is like almost always the first type of patch I create on a synthesizer is some sort of like Oberheim-y type thing. And what's so great about this one too is we're using the complex envelopes. I don't know how well you can see this on stream, but we have a little, I love it when on vintage synths they just print exactly how this works because the envelopes are 6-stage envelopes. They're more complex than your typical ADSR. And what's also really cool about them, for me, it's not really a feature. This feature is not aged well, but they implemented a second release stage to their envelopes, which allowed you to create reverb-like effects. So you could have a release and then a second release, which it's kind of mind-bending to even think about what that could mean. But anyways, I mean, this is just a big, bad, like... I bring up the envelopes to bring up the fact that it's really using that envelope well here, which is that you've got an initial shape, but then you don't get stuck at a sustain point. If you were doing this type of sound on, you know, your regular analog synth, you're going to have a little attack and decay, so you get the wow of the filter, you know? Right? But then it would fall to the sustain level and then you're stuck there. That's all you'd just be kind of stuck. But with this, you've got that additional stage so the filter can open back up, and it's just really great. So we can modify this very easily. So, yo, what's up, Mighty Pinto? How's it going? Hello, hello. So we can modify this. First off, we can see the frequencies all the way down. I want to increase some resonance. Right now it's got no resonance. Let's add about 50% resonance. That's too much. Really just a bit. So this is 0. We have a maximum of 31 on this patch. So using it just a third, bringing it to 10. This is interesting too. It's using both envelopes, envelope 3 twice as a modulator. So I'd be curious to see if I, and it's using the keyboard, I'm assuming velocity there, or maybe key scaling. So if I turn this down, maybe we get less of a shape. Yeah, we do. And in fact, just while I'm here, hopefully you guys can see this on stream, but we can actually bring the envelope all the way down to -63, and then if I'm understanding this correctly, we will have completely canceled out the envelope shape. I'm definitely still hearing something, which is interesting. So there's some other stuff going on that I'm not understanding about this patch, but anyways. If that doesn't get your vintage synth boner on, let's try it with full resonance. I just love the way that filter talks. You know, it just has that sound to it. It's so good. It's really good. This one's called Spots 2. Oh, this is almost like the elves sound from Distorted Reality. Very cool. This one's called Sitar. You know, this would be a great lead. It almost has like an FME sort of character to it, which I'm interested in how they accomplish that. Jim says, I love listening to 70s artists like Gary Wright, Billy Preston, etc. Who mostly use mini Moogs. Yeah, the mini Moog was definitely the default back then. Yeah, I get ideas for my patches with the Moog, not the Source. You have the Sonic 6. Yeah, it's very gritty on this one, Vincent. And that's the thing. This is like a chameleon. We can go all the way over into DX7, cold, digital, gritty, whatever you want, and then we can come all the way back over to, you know, analog, really like profit levels of warmth. This one's called Vox Layer. Yo, are we back? It seems we're back. Yo, I don't know what happened there. It went poof. Yeah, so there went the internet for a bit there. So let's try breath here. Oh, this is interesting. This is a beautiful patch, actually. How are we doing as far as it goes? It looks like what I can see from across the room that we are back 100%. So we've been having horrible storms in Florida, and in fact, tonight there's supposed to be some maintenance done on the internet. So, but like at 2 a.m. So I was nervous because I don't trust Xfinity for shit. Blame in music. Yeah, we're good to go. Okay, it looks good. I'm looking green over there, so I'm hoping. Okay, good. So this is a really cool patch. I want to see if the velocity is affecting the filter, but not an envelope. So we're sort of diagnosing how we pulled apart how this sound was made. The harder I hit the key, we get a different sort of filter. But what I'm looking for is probably here. So DCA4 is the last amplifier in a row. It's all laid out very well on the synthesizer, but it's probably a little hard to see on stream. So you've got the 3 oscillators going through. Each of them has a separate amplifier, so you could do something like use the tine of a, there's like a sample in here, I think it's called Glint, and you know, like that's like the front end of an E-piano sound. You wouldn't want to sustain that though, so you have that fall in volume. So DCA4 is effectively your like standard amplifier that controls all of them. It can also be panned from left to right. I don't use that. I leave the synth in mono because for me it's not as useful, but I suppose in certain multi modes, because this is a multi-timbral synth, it could be really cool because different layers could be going left and right, but for me that just gets too scary. So anyways, it's letting us know that envelope 4 is controlling the DCA4, which makes sense. So we can go to envelope 4 and check it out, and we get a bunch of numbers, and we've got different levels and different times, and those all correspond over here. So what I want to look at is the level 1, 2, 3 are all positive, but 4 is negative. So I wonder if I bring this one up, if we can get some sustain. You know what I think's happening is we actually have to look at these. So it's envelope 2 is controlling the amplifiers of the oscillators. So we're going to go look at that. And now we can see that levels 2 and 3 are negative. So that's giving us that, that sound. So now by bringing that up, we can bring these up and actually hear how this sounds, but as more of a pad. Because I just thought this sounds gorgeous. Interesting. It's like the velocity is scaling that. Go back in here and see what's affecting this. Velocity and the wheel is affecting these too. Wow, that's crazy. Yeah, So anyways, kind of like a way that you can go into the synth and actually pull apart a sound. Very cool one. This one's called Latin. Oh, we got a little split going on. I mean, for me, this is like great techno percussion. I would like to sample every little bit of this and just have some cool percussion stuff. This one's called Kick and Snare. Snare cymbal. Yeah, this is like just a whole techno percussion section. Ride. Ambient percussion. Doctor Who sounds. Have no clue what this word is. Actually very cool, especially with all this Inktomi reverb. Very beautiful. Kick plus. Plus what? And at what cost? Cymbal. Yeah, really cool stuff. Noise X. Pop up. Yeah, really cool stuff in here. So for sure. So then we can just move this one more level. Let's see what level we're on right now. We just entered level 4 of 16. Think about that for a second. Well, no way we'll cover all of these tonight, unfortunately. Pan piano? They seem to like to start with a honky-tonk sort of sound. Vox pad. This is... better fucking deliver. It did not deliver. Reverb. Delivered. Giving me the fever. That's a good patch. You're under a tornado watch, Jim. Oh, that's intense. Yeah, so we got Jacksonville in the house. Fires. Yeah, I've been getting a lot. Yeah, how are you doing up there, by the way, Aquatic? It's terrifying what's going on. Let's see. Fucking blame in music. Michael Mace is in the Gainesville area. I'm down in South Florida. Chicago representing. Yes. Yeah, lots of interesting aliasing, Vincent. Machine Storm, welcome to the stream. According to Bruce Campbell, Jacksonville is paradise. Jacksonville is the hood. Yes, Kemper, known for their amps, acquired access. Hasn't done much with it, to my knowledge. So if I'm correct, actually, it's kind of the other way around. I could be wrong, Machine Storm. Whoa, microphone's running away. The guy who created the Access virus went on to found Kemper and then just made so much money selling guitar modelers, basically putting like Line 6 to shame, that they just haven't put out a virus in a long time. And I kind of don't blame them. It's like there hasn't been any major technological advancement with software. There's been a lot of great digital synths that have come out, like the Wave State and stuff like that. Hydra synth. But, you know, for what they're doing with the virus, like, there's not really been a reason to update the virus. You know what I mean? Like, weirdly enough. And shout outs to Sebastian Comore, who actually made the presets or some of the presets on the virus, which is super great. Love having some scum in here that did cool things. I'm going to shut up now. Very cool, but I actually kind of like this not as a bass line, but as a... It's a very beautiful pad, actually. We've got organ bells, which has got these fucking organ bells, man. Oh, this is beautiful. Before you call me a hypocrite, there's like an interesting little vibrato in there. Not really hearing a lot of organ, guys, so don't get on me for that. So some bell strings. It's kind of almost like a string meets Fantasia thing, which is very nice. Very nice. Vox 3 here. Kind of good for the... Kind of for that. Let's try J bells. I wonder if that's for like Jupiter bells, actually. I recently did a track, I can't talk about it yet until it comes out, a collaboration, and there was a patch in Unclean Machine that was sourced from a Jupiter 8, and it was like Jupiter 8 bells, and it sounds just like this, so... Like a nice, you know, sort of square wave bell type tone. So let's see, let me catch up here real quick. Machine Storm's got a Texas-Florida connection here. Osiris, the emulation VST. I haven't even heard of that. Oh, Michael says, I'm far from Gainesville. Just heard they were getting hit. Yeah, I've never heard of this. Really cool. Now we have Vavra, the MicroQ emulation. Very FM, yeah, for sure. Panda says, outside of Christmasly applications, big fan of the bells. Yeah, for sure. I mean, what is the 80s if not for bell synthesis? Oh, this one's very nice. Wind chimes, come on, baby. Wow. Interesting how it kind of steps through stuff there. Jamie says, it's interesting how Subtractive Sense tried to emulate the FM tones because of the DX7. Yeah, I mean, for sure, because you got to think that although nowadays we love analog stuff, at this time, everybody was like losing money. I mean, Moog went out of fucking business. So did Oberheim. So did ARP. These were the biggest companies we're now under. And Roland and Korg were like stressed out trying to figure out what they were going to do before the D50 and the M1 came out. So, yeah, I mean, it was a very interesting time where kind of everything that we know about synthesizers nowadays was like out the window. It was just like, yeah, these things, you know, old analog sounds boring. A very beautiful one. Very like FM plus analog. This would be fun to sort of add a little bit of resonance to. And then bring the frequency cutoff down so we can get better harmonics. We can add more to this envelope. That way we can take envelope 2 out of the equation and instead bring in some aftertouch. We can kind of do an all stream here. Add a little bit more here. Not too much though. Listen to that growl. Yeah, let's bring that down. Add a little bit more pressure. Yeah, really cool how you have that polyphonic aftertouch. So again, all I have to do is go to, where are we at? Cart B, right, and then hold Cart B and grist 3, and then we can write that aftertouch automation or filter modification so that we have a more resonant analog sounding. And add that polyphonic aftertouch to it. So it's really fast. And of course, there's already that great velocity. Yeah, super cool patch for sure. Machine Storm thinks of the Sega Genesis when you see IFM. Yeah, for sure. So like all those old Sega games, and I'm trying to think of what was it, Amiga or whatever. They all used like a very basic Yamaha FM chip. Either 2-operator or maybe 4-operator, but I think it was 2 operators. They have that very typical FM sound, very brittle, digital, and you know that's nostalgia right there, right there. Some very beautiful ones. Kind of reminds me of the Breath one. This one's using pitch modulation. Either some auto bend or something, or an envelope on the pitch of the oscillators. You probably see here. Yeah, so oscillator 1, which is a sawtooth, is using just a little bit of envelope 1 bend here. So you're getting a little come up on the pitch of that, giving it that sort of brass sound. Brian Berg says, Crossmod, if available with a subtractive synth, can sometimes do kick-ass bell tones. However, nothing can beat those FM sweet spots for that metallic clang. Yes, I agree with that. Michael says, well, ARP ate themselves on Eyes the Chroma, for sure. Streets of Rage, yes, that's a very... It's just crazy how good that sounds, right? Like how analog... Aside from the pitch mod, and that's like the only giveaway, and really only because of the fact that, you know, a lot of analogs couldn't do that. Oh, here's like a real good, like, sort of FM bass sound. Yeah, that's almost got that, like, a little bit of portamento on there, too. Really good. Really like that one. There's been a lot of really great patches this stream. I'm shocked. Oh, yeah. Very cool. A fiddle. Shout outs to Vulture Mom. Oh, that's beautiful. When I can play the notes. Yeah, really cool. Very cool one, for sure. Let's see, flauts? Oh, beautiful as well. Like a very cool, square wavy, very warm patch. Yes, it does have a very sanctify sort of bass sound. Hal Bell. Also a very cool sort of pitchy bell sound. Instant 80s nostalgia, right? Like it just takes you right in. Grist 4, I'm really excited for this one because Grist 3 was good. Immediate disappointment. Fuck you, Grist 4. Let's move on to B in parentheses. I love these guys. Oh my God. Autumn, have a wonderful evening. I love you. All right, let's just run through a few more patches real quick as we're coming up to the end of the stream. So I just want to get a few more in so I don't feel like I didn't do anything this stream to show off these really wonderful ESQ1 patches. This one's called Digital Piano 2. Really good. Really warm, like FM Rhodes piano type sound to it. So really cool. We got BRC Syn. Wow, that was loud. Let's turn that down a little. Still fucking loud. Little organy. Digital Brie. Ooh, this one's very good. KE bass. Whoa, this is like a really cool, like, Mogi sort of, except with bass. Ooh, that's thick. Let's try 2 bells. Oh my gosh. Sugar. You see what's happening there? As I pull off, we're getting a different octave. That's gorgeous. What a special sound. Psy Into. I'm happy to be stopping with this. We got some really cool pitchy stuff. Pluck Vox. Really great. Slow bell. It's a bell pad. Yes. Yes, that's a very good one. square sweep, I wonder? Are you kidding me? Why are all these great sounds right at the end? So that is why you want an SQ-80, right? Is for that analog fucking filter. That is what's up. Like, oof, oof, oof. It just talks. This one's called Ben. Thanks, I hate it. Paris 1. Kind of like a nice little guitar-like one. This one's called Funk. Sounds good. This one's called RL Bass. Yes. Little bit of OSC sync in the last one. Beautiful phasing. Yeah, so I mean, what I've learned today from this is that, oh my god, like, why would you need any other synth? I mean, there's certain things it doesn't do as well as others, granted, right? But we've barely touched the surface of all of these patches, and there are some insane patches in here. Let's end on a good one. GG? Let's try Sing. Vox Bell. Instant 80s. Ambo. Oh, this one's beautiful. Or Fallout. This is a special one to end on. Aquatic Borealis, have a great night, my friend. I mean, it's still going. That one's so crazy. Wow. What a fun night. I mean, I was just shocked at how great those sounds were. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that as much as I did. I'm Vulture Culture. I do this every Wednesday at 9, do some sort of stream based on cool synths. I like vintage synths, but sometimes modern stuff as well. And I hope you guys have a wonderful week. Be safe out there. It's a crazy world. And love and light, bitches. Daddy is out.